November 4th, 2020. It is 5:03 p.m. And the Board of Commissioners, as the governing body of Clatsop County, all county service districts for which this body so acts, and as the Clatsop County Local Contract Review Board, is now meeting in regular session. Clerk of the board, may we have a roll call, please?
We're actually in the work session. So we don't do
for
roll.
heaven's sake. I'm sorry, I couldn't print off this doggone thing, and so I didn't have it on the right page. I'm reading it off my computer. Let me start that over again. It's a work session. It's 5:04. The work sessions are an opportunity for board members to discuss issues informally with staff and invited guests. The board encourages members of the public to attend work sessions and to listen to the discussion, but there's generally no opportunity for public comment. Members of the public wishing to address the board are welcome to do so during the board's regularly scheduled meetings. Oh, okay. Sorry, you guys. It's been quite a week. So, board communications. Who would like to start saying hello today? Commissioner Nebaker, how are you doing today?
Doing just fine, just following the election. And it's all very interesting, our democratic process and seeing how people are counting the votes. And I'm grateful that our county is doing well as far as we're so responsible and that we have fair and free elections.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Chair Sullivan. Well, I'm tired. You know, it takes a lot of energy to care this much about everything that's happening. So I'm kind of used to COVID fatigue, but now I have election fatigue as well, looking at who's going to be doing what going forward. I mean, you're in a new role. Some other people are going to be in new roles, and we're still community going forward. And I echo Commissioner Nebaker. Yeah, it's great. We have a democratic republic that works. So we're going to go back to work tomorrow. The other thing is I'm so impressed by the community development staff and all of the painstaking work they have done on the development code, just to comb through it word by word, letter by letter, to make it a document that is easy to understand and easy to use. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Thompson. Commissioner Webb?
Hello, everybody. I hope you all got as little sleep last night as I did. But we made up for it today. And I'm very grateful that we clearly, our elections staff did an awfully good job. And also our citizens did a good job of, I think, being patient and calm last evening and today. And I think with all the people I've talked to on the phone today, I think the community's looking good. So it kind of feels good. That's it.
Excellent. Thank you, Commissioner. I'm sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Webb. Is Commissioner Quayle on the phone today? Okay. For myself, I appreciate what everyone.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah. Please go ahead. Okay. Yes. Go ahead.
No, I would echo Commissioner Webb's comments. I would like to congratulate the elections department for a job well done, and our staff as well. Certainly a big endeavor to conduct an election like that, and they did so admirably. And certainly want to congratulate our Sheriff Phillips for eking out a victory last night. But no, that's excellent, and I'm pleased to see that the community has weathered the storm and is doing well.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Quayle. Very well said. And I just want to echo what other people have said, but I do want to give the board its it's just congratulations on our choice for the sheriff. I think our appointment was a wise one and proven so from the public. Anyways, I'm sorry. I've been going too many things going on today. So I guess I should say in public too that I have taken a new role as the executive director for the Story Warming Center, and that I am now going into my second week with that duty. So I'm very proud to be part of a team of such good-hearted and hardworking people. So let's go now into the next portion of our meeting, which is to discuss the formal agenda. And one thing that I would like to put out there before I open it up to you folks is we have several pieces on this formal agenda. And one thing is the Veterans Services Week proclamation. And I have not spoken to Commissioner Webb about this, but I know that Commissioner Webb's family she's from a Coast Guard family. And so Commissioner Webb, would you like to read the Veterans Service Proclamation Week? Would you be comfortable with that? Yes? Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And I very much would like to read the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Proclamation. I thought about we could each read a couple lines, but I don't know if that's too hard to do with Zoom. What do you think about that? Should I just go ahead and read it? Yeah. Had some nods. Okay. And then as we go down, and I know this is a little unusual, but we are getting towards the end of things, and when it comes down to number 14 on the bargaining agreement, I know that Commissioner Nebaker has served on that committee for what, now 8 years? And so I was thinking perhaps we could allow her to do the motion on that when that comes to that. And then also the matching funds for the Arch Cape Cape Water District. That is in Commissioner Thompson's district, and perhaps we'll let Commissioner Thompson do the motion on that, if that's okay with everybody. I know we don't normally prearrange that, but are people comfortable with that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then does anybody have any other concerns or anything else about the agenda that they would like to talk about? Commissioner Nebaker?
I just have a correction in the minutes when we get there.
Okay, so if that's part of the consent calendar, do we need to do that now or during the consent calendar when we make the motion for the consent calendar? Joanna?
You certainly can talk about it now, but you will need to amend it by motion when you get to the consent calendar.
So
Yeah, I think it's just a typo about the completion of the jail. It said that it was be completed in January of 2020. And I think it's 2022.
that'd be fantastic. Are we on goal to do that? No? Okay. Commissioner Thompson?
I would just say for the record that my husband is a 28-and-a-half-year veteran of the United States Air Force, and I have been a woman officer candidate in the United States Marine Corps Reserve as well. So I'm quite happy to have Commissioner Webb read that, but I'll have you know that there are other military-related folks on the board too, just so people know. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your service and for your husband's service, Commissioner Thompson. And I know that our county manager is also has served as a U.S. Marine. So we are proud of all of our service people. Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
Yeah, Stephen, we'll be hearing from you in a few minutes. So on that one, any other questions on the agenda discussion? Okay, let's move now to the public health update. We've about 5 minutes for this, and which staff member will be giving us that?
That would be me, Mike McNichol.
Okay,
All right.
thank you, Dr. McNichol. Go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. This is Mike McNichol, Clatsop County Public Health Director. I'll just do a quick COVID update. Everyone's favorite topic by now. I'm election fatigue, and I have COVID fatigue like you wouldn't believe. But right now, we've had 271 cases in Clatsop County. Of those, 234 have recovered. So we have a number of cases that we're still working on. We had 32 cases over the last 2 weeks. And there is not a specific outbreak. What we're seeing right now is community spread. This is anticipated. I'm sure we will see at least another peak or two before the end of the year due to the October Halloween parties that occurred on Saturday that many have observed, and also from what's coming up in Thanksgiving. If social distancing and other things are not followed, we can anticipate a number of cases from that. So, unfortunately, we've had our first hospitalization from a Clatsop County person, and that person was transferred to another hospital and placed on a ventilator. So that's very unfortunate. We are also still doing testing as of right now. As of today, Clatsop County Public Health has conducted over 1,500 tests for the community. We're still using the Binax test, and it's been very useful for us. We're in conversations with Columbia Memorial Hospital to talk about, expanding community testing in areas such as travel, COVID testing, as well as pre-op authorization testing. So those are ongoing conversations. And that's pretty much my COVID update. I did want to mention, too, that I was just notified this week that our long-term nursing supervisor, Sherry Salisbury, is going to retire at the end of January, which is, it's not totally unanticipated, but at the same time, it's kind of heart-wrenching. So for me, anyway, trying to recruit during a pandemic should be interesting, but I do think that we'll want to do something in public health and maybe the board to acknowledge her 11 years of excellent service for public health and community. I'm willing to take any questions if you have any.
Commissioner Nedeker.
Thank you. Will we get to know if this, even though this person has been transferred out of the county, how they will be doing, or if they will recover?
Yeah, that's a good question. HIPAA doesn't really allow us to do that unless their provider is, because now they're sort of out of our, the person was unable to give us any kind of information. So we had to go with next of kin to do the contact tracing. So, maybe through that contact, we'll be able to find out. But our goal is to, make sure that at least we know what the outcome is. I'm hoping that it's a positive one. So, but we'll do our best to see if we can get that information.
Can you also tell us why they were transferred out of the county?
I can't really say because I'm not that. For HIPAA rules, I'm not involved in the medical decisions that occur, so I don't really know.
So going forward, say we were to have an increase or dramatic increase and there were hospitalizations and these people were transferred out, and heaven forbid, if they should pass away, we wouldn't know? Is that right?
Well, we would know if so when it comes to death, the issue is then HIPAA is sort of out of the picture, and those deaths would be reported to OHA, and through our death certificate for Clatsop County, we would know then.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
This is Commissioner Queelag, just kind of a follow-up, and obviously I don't know all of the facts of this, but I know from Columbia Hospital's standpoint, a lot of these other facilities in Portland and area are better equipped to handle the respiratory ICU COVID patients. But the real challenge right now is that they are filling up to capacity. I think that OHSU was reporting yesterday that they were at 98% capacity. I think 85% of their ICU beds were full. So it is becoming a real issue moving forward about capacity within our region in the Portland metro area. But Columbia Memorial Hospital and Providence are set up to handle, I think, up to 10 or 11 in an ICU environment or an ICU bed. So there is capacity here locally. It's just been, it just depends on what the nature of that hospitalization is and if they need to be transferred because they need some special care. That's been the case, but it'll be an option always because of the hospital capacities rising all across the state.
Yeah,
Thank you
Commissioner
so
Quayle, I
much,
believe you're
Commissioner.
correct. We have been getting reports that the number of beds in some of the bigger hospitals are getting filled, so that is becoming a concern.
Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you. This is concerning. So we are looking at how do we have capacity and how do we impact the increased need? Because when we have nice weather like last weekend, driving through Cannon Beach, driving through Short Sands, packed. Cars parked all along the highway again, no social distance, no mask, everybody's outside, they're happy to be here. As Chair Harrington said on a different meeting, oh, people are dying to come to the coast. And I said, I'm afraid that's the operative word. When I talked to the county manager about this, how do we as a body put out a message that helps people protect themselves so that we limit the impact in our communities, or is that even possible? So I'm looking to the public health director and the county manager to give me a little guidance on this.
Well, Commissioner Thompson, one thing I know is we're hoping to have the commissioners participate in messaging over the holidays. That's one way that we can do that. But county manager?
Yeah, if I can just reinforce kind of the same messages, because it really is the same. These are the consistent messages that have prevailed and they will continue to, but there's really four things that our staff has been working with public health staff to do continual messaging through the fall and the winter. But we just have to keep making sure that people social distance. That's the most important thing, whether they're inside, whether they are outside, wearing masks, not participating in large gatherings, and then hygiene. We just have to keep telling people that over and over and over again. And sunshine does not negate the fact that those four things have to continue. And so, I'm optimistic that it's going to rain for the next 90 days. So hopefully that will be the solution to all of our problems. So, and I'm not really that optimistic, but so it is something we are always talking about, and we will continue to try to make sure that all of our messaging is relevant, timely, and that it's just ever present.
And also, county manager, isn't it, and Dr. McNichol, it's the small gatherings, we don't know what social gatherings took place over Halloween and then also for the election night. And those tend to be a way that the community spread starts. So it's difficult to be away from our people that we love, but we need to be vigilant.
Right. That's from the contact tracing. We found that it's small parties, medium-sized parties, no social distancing, very little mask wearing, and that's what's going to lead to more COVID, unfortunately. And I empathize with everyone who's sick of COVID. Trust me, I know. Everyone is sick of COVID, but the problem is that COVID's not done with us yet, so we got to do everything we can to protect ourselves and our families and our friends.
Thank you, Dr. McNichol. Shall we move on to the next? Does anyone have anything else on the public health thing? Okay, let's move towards the comprehensive plan update, the Citizen Advisory Committee appointments.
Chair Sullivan?
Yes.
Chair Sullivan, if I could ask one more question, please.
Sure.
So as far as testing, people have been asking me, can anyone get a test, or do you have to have symptoms?
Is Dr. McNichol still on the line?
Dr. McNichol may have left. I'm sorry, Commissioner Nebaker. We will get you an answer to that question. I think that's part of what Dr. McNichol has been talking to CMH about is whether we broaden some of the testing guidelines. So we will get back to you and provide that information.
Thank you.
Thank you, County Manager. Who would like to, Gail Hendrickson, are you going to give the staff report on that?
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. Gail Hendrickson. Yep. Thank you. Gail Hendrickson, Community Development Director. What is on your work session agenda this evening is just a discussion, and if you have any additional direction to provide to staff on the appointments to the citizen advisory committees. Since we restarted in June of this year following the pandemic lockdown, we did see several changes in the compositions of our committees. We had 7 resignations, and we have a couple of committee members who have just never responded or shown up for meetings as well. And so that's had an impact particularly on the Elsie Jewell Seaside Rural Committee and the Lewis and Clark Committee. And so we put out a call for applications on September 14th of this year. We got 6 applications sent to us by the deadline on October 16th. Mr. and Mrs. Abing, Don and Jody Abing, they are representing on behalf of the Chinook Indian Nation, and so they feel that they would be appropriately appointed to either or both of the committees. And then we had Susanna Gladwin and Herb Olstead, who applied for the Elsie Jewell Seaside Rural Committee, and Tiffany Hall and Pat O'Grady, who applied for the Lewis and Clark Only Woluski Committee. So we wanted, as staff, to give you the opportunity just to review them. If you wanted to give any additional direction to staff, such as going back out to advertise for additional applicants, we could do that. Otherwise, we plan on bringing the appointments back to you on December 9th, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Gail. Any commissioners, any questions or comments? Commissioner Webb?
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is the right time of year to be doing this. We didn't get, is that my noise? Can you all still hear me? You can? Okay, I'm sorry, I was getting a screech sound. We're at the point where we only have now one more meeting, right, after this one this year. I'm sensing a great deal of fatigue, not only the COVID fatigue and the election fatigue and all that. And I wonder if maybe it wouldn't be a good idea for us to take a little bit of a hiatus from the individual meetings, and perhaps wait until the beginning of the new year and put out another call, because we still don't have, I think, we don't have enough members, even with these additional, if we appointed all of these new people, I think our committees are very, very thin. And I don't mean that pejoratively. I just don't think there are enough attendees to have spirited discussions. And so I wonder if maybe it would just be a good idea for us to maybe take some action to invite these folks who have applied, but try again after the first of the year, and give everybody a break between now and then. Right.
Commissioner Webb, thank you. My thoughts on that would be is yes, everyone's tired, but this is still a multi-year project. And if these folks are willing to serve, even if we find that we have to maybe, I don't know, Gail, you're scheduling the meetings, but if we do get them on board to start working, even if they don't have a meeting, they have the intent to study the materials and get ready for when the meetings are held. And since this is a multi-year project, we may have to come back to the board in next year with adding additional people. But I see these folks as stepping up and willing to serve, and that maybe we should take advantage of that and honor their request and get them moving into the pipeline. And then maybe as we go forward, more people will want to join, and then they can bring that to the board and ask them if they can join. How do you feel about that, Ms. Hendrickson, Director Hendrickson?
I think that would be an appropriate thing, since the appointments actually would not come back to the board until December 9th. Some of them may actually miss some of the December meetings just due to scheduling as official members. So realistically, they would be starting full-time in January of 2021. I'm also very happy to after the new year, put out another call. I think doing it over the holidays won't be very productive. I think people will be involved in thinking about other things, hopefully. So doing another call again after January as well to see if we can bring in additional members. But I understand Commissioner Webb's concern. Our groups are very thin. We are down to 2 members on the LC Jewel, and I think we are down to 3 members on the Lewis and Clark committee. So if there's any absences, it gets to be a very one-sided discussion and debate. So I would appreciate if the board chooses to appoint the members on December 9th, if possible.
And then add afterwards is what you're hoping for. That seems reasonable to me. Does anybody else have concerns about adding these folks at this time? Commissioner Thompson?
I understand that staff has been grinding away and has momentum, and I'm loath to mess with them, but I actually agree with Commissioner Webb that this is a hard slog through this time of year, and I'd rather table it and start it up again in the new year. With great respect to staff, I'm with Commissioner Webb on this one.
Commissioner Nabaker?
I guess I'm failing to see the reasoning of why these people couldn't be appointed and then continue after the new year. I don't understand. If they're willing and they're good candidates, why wouldn't they be appointed now?
Commissioner Webb?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought that I don't know if I heard Gail correctly. I thought that's what Gail was asking, is that we appoint them at our December meeting, but then re-advertise or something in January for additional folks. Gail, am I interpreting what you said correctly?
Yes, that's correct. So if the board were to appoint all or some of these applicants on December 9th, given the meeting time, only the LC Jewell group would be meeting before the end of the year. So the Lewis and Clark committee members would not meet in December at all. Effectively, these 6 people, if you appointed them all, would really come on full time, full steam in January. But we would also still like to have the opportunity to go back out and recruit for additional applicants.
Good.
Gail, we not only do we have the time to ask for additional applicants, we have the capacity within the groups to add more members. Is that correct?
Yes, none of them are really at their full quorum where we started back in March of last year.
Okay. And we don't vote during the work session. So I guess we have Commissioner Thompson. Does that change your viewpoint on this matter? That we can add additional along with who we may be adding on December 9th?
Sure. Absolutely. Let's go forward.
Okay. Commissioner Quayla, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, can you hear me? No, I'm fine with the direction we're taking.
Okay. Does that work for you, Director Hendrickson?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So now the next thing on our agenda is the CARES funding authorization, and I believe is it our Assistant County Manager, Steele? Okay.
Yes, so as you're all aware, we have CARES funding, and the county back in May, we were allocated approximately $1.7 million for addressing a variety of CARES expenses. And at this time, some of the funding that we have provided to the community, as listed in your packet, is in the amount of $100,000. And that went to various programs such as Helping Hand, Reentry and Outreach Center, Classic Community Actions, the Harbor, the Emergency Food Banks, Restoration House, Feeding Empty Bellies, and St. Vincent de Paul, which is also a food bank. And we continue to recognize that there are a lot of community needs out there, as well as needs within our own internal organization. And so obviously some of these things are not items that were budgeted for, but we do have the funds available to us should we request reimbursement on them from the CARES funding. And so some of the items that we're asking that the board approve later this evening are some additional funding, both internally and externally. One of the external ones is Classic Behavioral Healthcare has seen a significant increase in mental health crises since the COVID pandemic, and they have been responding to those instances, but they don't receive additional funding to help offset those costs. And so we worked with CDH to find out what some of those expenses that they've been experiencing since the onset of the pandemic are. And so we're asking that the board would consider providing them with $109,500 to help offset those expenses. Those are both in relation to personnel costs to address the crisis, as well as expenses that they've incurred to be able to do things in a socially distanced and safe manner, as well as making sure that things are properly sanitized and having proper PPE available to them. Another request that we have is the Environmental Health Department annually does license renewals for food, lodging, pool, and spas. And so environmental health is asking that we be able to provide grants up to 50% of the annual license renewal fees. And based on the list of businesses that they would be renewing those licenses and doing those inspections on, it would come to a total of $92,780 in grant funds. I don't know who caller 8 is, but you can *6. Thank you. The next one that we are asking is business COVID-19 grants. That is in conjunction with CEDAR, there are opportunities for businesses to be able to receive supplemental grants. This is a program that they are working with Colpack, I believe it is, and CEDAR working together. And so there has been I believe we received an email today from Kevin Leahy that said of the region, the requests for the 3-county region for Clatsop County is 46% of the requests. And so they're trying really hard to be able to fully fund all of those business requests. And they have a full system in place as far as the application and review of all of those applications to be able to serve or to be able to help businesses countywide. That is in the amount of $50,000. Additionally, internally, we are looking at acquiring a body scanning machine in the jail, and the cost of that is $139,000. This will help our deputies. Oftentimes when we have individuals coming into the jail, they are having to do body searches on them, and they are having to get in close proximity. Sometimes the individuals aren't always on their best behavior, and so whether that's spitting or other actions that can be taken, having this body scanning system will make it so that the deputies are not having to have close contact with them. And then the last item that we are asking for is a $20,000 amendment to the budget, so that way we can have a contract put in place to retain a consultant to facilitate the process of improving internet services out in the Jewel LC area of Clatsop County. And the idea behind this is that is the most underserved population in regards to internet service. And once we kind of do the work out there and the feasibility of this, then we would have a template that we would be able to kind of expand upon throughout the county to the other areas that also are experiencing the internet issues that many rural counties are experiencing. So those are the things that we are hoping to do. This will still leave us with just under $300,000, which we have the majority of that has already been spoken for. We, as the public health director mentioned earlier, we are continuing to see rise in COVID cases. In addition, the county has certain payroll requirements that we are obligated to meet per FFCRA, which is being able to allow our employees to be at home with their children who aren't able to have daycare or schooling. And so trying to meet those payroll needs, as well as just the ongoing expenses of making sure that we are properly sanitized, and any building changes that we have to make, because this is more than likely going to be a long-term change to how we do business. So just putting all those protective measures in place. So if you have any questions.
Commissioner Webb?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. When I went back into the consent calendar, the proposal in here is much more specific than the one just in our work session discussion. And I have a couple of questions about some of the dollar amounts.
Sure.
You repeat in Schedule A for the budget adjustments. You repeat several of these twice. The CBH one, and I guess because I'm not a good student of the budget, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But the one,
so if I can explain that. So if you look at the line items specifically for the CBH one, which is 109,500, there is the one on the very top ends with an 82-3577 account number, and the one right below that ends with an 81-5230 account number. So one of those is an expense and one of those is a revenue. And so since this on the consent calendar, this is asking the board to do the budget adjustment. So this is saying we are going to increase our revenue because we're going to get these revenues from the CARES fund. So we're asking you to increase that amount, and then we're also asking you to increase that expenditure amount. So
Okay.
it's an increase to both of them.
Okay. So now the jail one though, the rest of them are only listed once.
Yes. So so the environmental health one is also listed twice. You've got the expense and the revenue.
Right.
And then the jail one, the 209,000 total at the very bottom adds up to the 3 expenses above that. So the 139,000 for the body scanner, the 50,000 for the Cedar business grants, and the 20,000 for the contractual services. And so that's because those are all getting paid out of separate expense line items, all within the special projects fund. But the revenue is all going into that 81-5231, which is the COVID funding.
Okay. Okay. So
Does that make sense?
yes, absolutely, absolutely. I noticed that our newly elected sheriff is now on the call, and I'm wondering about this machine. I I thought the attachment talking about this scanning machine was kind of interesting. Is that, I mean, that seems like a lot of money for something that we would only be using for as long as COVID lasts? Or is this a
No,
good
This is-
investment for them?
yeah, this is a wonderful purchase for the county and something that I think will benefit us from a risk management perspective for a long time. Beyond the COVID concerns, we frequently have people presented to correction staff that have not been searched really well by the arresting officer, and sometimes we have uncapped syringes in pockets, and we would now have an opportunity to scan someone and find that before one of our deputies gets stuck. Jails around the state have had incidents where people consumed large quantities of drugs, to try to hide the evidence, and then later overdose in the jail. That this would show up in that scan ahead of time.
Okay.
And then there's certainly people that find ways to prepare for their stay and secret things within themselves that they should not have in a corrections facility, and this would allow us to identify those things.
Okay. So it's a good investment for us long term. It's not something we
Yes.
should be looking at renting or anything like that.
I'm not aware of a rental fleet for these machines.
That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
I just, now that the numbers add up, I get it. So, thank you.
Yes.
Oh, can I ask one? I'm sorry, one other question. So I heard you say, Monica, you were talking about how much we have kind of left in our CARES account. Do we have plans for that? Do we have, I assume we have to spend this money before the end of the year, right?
Yes.
So do we have a waiting list or a?
We do, and I'll be coming before you again in December with some more. We submit our reimbursements. They have a schedule of when you can submit them, and we've been submitting them more regularly now, just because we want to make sure that we are letting them know that we are planning to spend all this money, and two, don't want to over commit ourselves to things, because again, we want to make sure that we're meeting all of our internal needs before we provide things externally, but yet we still want to be able to help our community as much as possible. So yeah, we'll be coming back before you in December, on December 9th, with with some more.
Great.
Thank you so much, Monica. I just wanted to remind everybody that we do have an executive session in this, attached to this work session. So we are getting close. Commissioner Thompson, is that a question that you need to ask right now? Okay. Monica, did you have anything more you wanted to add?
Nope.
And so that we will be seeing this topic on our business agenda, or I mean, a consent calendar, right?
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
So let us now, and I want to also thank the newly elected sheriff for being here. So thank you. Let's prepare to what we need to do to go into executive session. So, Teresa, if you can help us with that.
Commissioner Sullivan, Chair Sullivan, can I interrupt really quickly?
Yes.
Just for 2 seconds. I just wanted, Tracy is not here. If I could just give a brief elections update, just really quickly. As you know, I just want to really thank our election staff, and that includes our clerk staff, but as well as the temporary election workers that put yeoman's work in yesterday and who will continue to do that until the election is actually certified, which will be on November 23rd. As you know, we had about 80% voter turnout with all the ballots that were counted through about 10 o'clock last evening. The remaining ballots are really challenged ballots that may not have been signed or that their signature was inconsistent with what is on file. There's some damaged ballots, and then we still receive ballots that were dropped off at other counties. And so those are the ballots that will continue to be processed. Just so everybody knows, we don't anticipate the numbers being updated until Friday afternoon. So all of the ballots that are being processed right now, Friday afternoon, the numbers should be updated. It may not be all of them because we will still be waiting for some of the exchange ballots and trying to actually deal with some of the other ones. But Friday afternoon will be when the next numbers will be updated. As you know, we have a number of races that are very close. There are some city races that are within one or two voters. And so there's a lot of interest, and we will update those as we can. But you know, elections are always difficult processes. This one has been, you know, more challenging, partly because of the voter turnout was so high, but there's just been a lot of interest in it. And so I just want to tip my hat to the county clerk, Tracy Kravanko, who has done an amazing job, and to her staff. So we got through another one, and the voter turnout will probably end up to be in the 82 to 83% range. So, and I do also want to acknowledge the sheriff, even though he left a couple votes on the table, but no one can get 100%. So
I'll be sure to try a little harder next time.
thank you, Sheriff.
Can I ask a question?
Thank you, County Manager. Yes.
Were there write-in ballots submitted? What do we do with those? I mean, do we publish those? Do we?
I will have to check with Tracy and see if they're actually published by name or not. There is a final reconciliation of the entire ballot, so I'm sure that they are in that final reconciliation, but I will have to check on that, and I will let the board know.
Okay, it's particularly relevant for the Soil and Water Conservation District because we had people who didn't apply to run, but supposedly the write-ins, I think you only need something like 3 votes on a write-in. So we were looking specifically, and I would also personally like to know who did a write-in candidate for the sheriff's office. Just, assuming that it's Mickey Mouse or.
Yeah, I will get back to you on that, Commissioner, and let you know.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So looks like we are getting very close. I have a question. If the executive session goes on beyond 6 p.m., how do we handle that?
What I would suggest is that I think we can probably get through the executive session in 5 to 7 minutes. And then if it goes on just a few minutes longer, we'll just start the regular meeting just a couple minutes late. But I don't think this should last very long. And Kelly, you can be brief if you can. So.
Sure.
Okay.
I would like, this is
so.
Teresa. I'd like to confirm that Mark or Commissioner Quila, are you caller number 3 on the line?
Well, I don't know what number I am, but I am
Okay.
on the phone too.
Okay. All right. So the meeting is locked, Commissioner Sullivan.
Okay, thank you.